What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you another deck on Pokemon TCGO, and today I am bringing you a deck that is simply centered around half a metric crap ton of Eeveelutions. And before I get into the deck, just a reminder to you guys that if you like this video or found it helpful, please leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe click that subscribe button. Really helps us out and lets us do more fun and cool stuff for you guys. And as for the question of the day, where would I be if I did not have my question of the day centered around the Eeveelutions in some way, shape, or form? But it's not going to be what is your favorite Eeveelution, because that would be too simple. And around here, I never do anything the easy way. I always have to do something really obscure and random. And my question is, so we already have Jolteon, Flareon, and Vaporeon, the original Eeveelutions, in Standard through Ancient Origins. You had Espeon and Umbreon really come more into play with Sun and Moon, and then we know in the new Sun and Moon set, Espeon-GX is going to be a thing as well. That leaves out two Eeveelutions in Glaceon and Leafeon, and my question of the day is, how would you guys like to see those two incorporated into the Standard metagame? Now, I know that Leafeon and Glaceon have been printed before. I believe the Plasma ones are the most popular, with Leafeon having that Energy Crush attack, and Glaceon giving Plasma Pokemon giving two less retreat. And so I guess my question is, how would you like to see those guys reprinted as the new Eeveelutions are and brought into the Standard metagame? If you had to ask me, I actually have a really cool idea that I would like to see brought into play. Leafeon, I'm just going to go simple. I would like to see it be exactly like the Ancient Origins Eeveelutions and add a grass typing onto your Stage 1 Pokemon. With the Fire, Water, and Lightning, you are really only missing one from like the basic four, and that is Grass. I think Leafeon would fit perfectly within those guys, and also the fact that your Stage 1s would now have the Grass typing would make Umbreon, Espeon, all Stage 1s basically that much more powerful, because you'd be able to hit Water types, which normally you were not before, even though you have been able to add the Lightning type. For whatever reason, the majority of Water Pokemon are simply weak to Grass as opposed to Lightning. As for Glaceon, okay, half of me kind of wants the whole, I think it's allergy pollen, like to have an allergy pollen-like effect with Glaceon, to where your super effective attacks, instead of 2 times damage, do 4 times damage, and have that be Glaceon's ability. I know that that would absolutely make zero sense, but if you combined my idea for Leafeon with that idea for Glaceon, it would make Eeveelutions just a lot of Stage 1s with Eeveelutions ridiculously powerful and able to one-shot stuff with very low damage attacks. More realistically, I would like to see Glaceon printed as something that would maybe give Stage 1s free retreat, or more so, what I would like is Glaceon to be a non-GX Eeveelutions attacker, have an attack that's like, does 20 more damage for each of your Eeveelutions. Let's say it does 40 more damage for each of your Eeveelutions that you have in play. That way you can theoretically hit for 160 damage with Glaceon, but also not be an EX or GX attacker. So, I mean, that's just my thoughts. Leafeon adding Grass typing to Stage 1s, and Glaceon like either supporting with free retreat or being able to hit for a ton of damage based on the number of Eeveelutions in play and not be an EX or GX attacker. But again, my opinion, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below and why. But anyway, on to the deck. I'm actually going to bring you two versions. This first version I basically straight up stole from my boy Aurabomb. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. He has awesome content. But I mean, it's a Eeveelutions deck centered around Espeon and Umbreon, the combination of the two. And he also threw Wobbuffet in there, which actually is really, really nice when you combine it with the Eeveelutions. But anyway, let's just go into the numbers. I mean, you guys know what the Eeveelutions do. These guys do add a typing based on what typing they are. Jolteon adds Lightning, Flareon adds Fire, Vaporeon adds Water. And then our main attacker is basically going to be Umbreon with the Shadow Bullet and Strafe. Strafe hits for 30 and you switch out. Shadow Bullet is Night Spear with a more friendly attack cost. And then Dark Call GX, discard 2 of your opponent's energy cards. Very, very powerful for disruption. And then we also have Espeon GX, also with 200 HP. A Psychic type, Psybeam, does 1 for 30, and your opponent's Pokemon is now confused. Actually comes in handy quite a bit. And then Psychic, 60 base. This attack does 30 more times the number of energy on your opponent's active Pokemon. This is a way that your opponent can get punished for overextending and loading up something with a ton of energy. And Divide GX, put 10 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you like. This attack is really, really powerful for being able to set up knockouts here and there. However, I don't think it's like a top tier GX attack. I think it's a solid GX attack, but what I think would make it top tier is if you were allowed to put 15 damage counters, because that would be absolutely incredible and would make Espeon be used a lot more. But as it stands, Divide is solid, but not overall like super amazing. But as for the numbers of Pokemon for Eevee, straight up, just because, I mean, that's... You have a deck centered around Eeveelutions. Run for Eevee. 1/1/1 of our Eeveelutions, 2 Espeon, 3 Umbreon, just because these are the main attackers, 2 Shaymin to be able to draw some cards, and then 2 Wobbuffet to slow our opponent down with Wide Barricade. That's something that we can go into when we use Strafe with our Umbreon. Just use it, go into Wobbuffet, slow our opponent down, and then retreat up Wobbuffet next turn, so that we have our abilities again. And also Psychic Assault is not bad. I mean, being able to just essentially double the damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon is very, very nice in a lot of scenarios. As for the items, 1/1 of Switch and Escape Rope just gives you options for getting mainly Wobbuffet out of there when you strafe into it early and you don't draw a Float Stone. Just nice options for that. 2 Level Ball to be able to search out your Eevee, and also the type adding Eeveelutions. 1 Super Rod in case we have to, in case we overextend, have to discard certain Eeveelutions that we might want back, or simply the Eeveelution that adds the type that you want for that match. Like against an Eevee EX deck, they Lysandre in your Jolteon and knock it out. You can put it right back in the deck with Super Rod. Very, very nice for that. 4 Trainers Mail help with consistency. 4 Ultra Ball, get guaranteed what we want when we want. 4 VS Seeker to reuse all of our supporters. Then as for the supporters, you have the general 4/2 of N and Sycamore as draw support. 2 Lysandre, because Lysandre is Bay. I know Lily is Bay, but nope, Lysandre is Bay. In my opinion, it's the hair. It's amazing. 1 Olympia, heal damage, but also another way to get Wobbuffet out of the active spot if you don't have a Float Stone, don't have a Switch, all of that. Olympia is nice for getting Wobbuffet out of there, but also healing off damage of Eeveelutions in certain scenarios. It just really helps their longevity, and 30 damage makes a big difference in a lot of situations. Also running 1 Kukui, mostly for Shadow Bullet to be able to one-shot a Shaymin. However, 20 damage really sets up a lot of things nicely, like 1 Kukui Shadow Bullet sets up Umbreon and Espeon GXs for 2-hit KOs from our own Umbreon, that type of thing. 2 EXP share to be able to get energy onto our Espeon or Umbreon, or heck, even Wobbuffet after one of your attackers goes down. 2 Float Stone, because Wobbuffet we don't want in the active spot. And while it's good to be able to slow down your opponent, you don't want to suffer the side effects of Wide Barricade, so getting that thing out of there as quickly as possible is definitely needed. And then as for the energy, for DCE, everything runs on DCE. Espeon and Umbreon both do, so might as well run the max number. 6 Darkness Energy, because Umbreon is the main attacker, but we are also running 3 Psychic Energy, because Espeon is still a very solid attacker in its own right. And also, Wobbuffet uses Psychic Energy too, so we want to be able to attack with that when we need it. So this is one version of the deck I'm going to use. Again, given to me, well, not really given to me, I kind of sort of stole it from Aurabomb, so credit to him on that. The other version I am trying out is an Eeveelution and Zoroark deck. In this version, I took out Espeon and Wobbuffet for a line of Zoroark and Zoroark Break. The big things here, you have obviously the line of Zoroark. Zoroark really is helpful for the rush in and retreat, but also can take advantage of the type additions from these Eeveelutions. 1 Zoroark Break with Foul Play to be able to potentially use like one of your opponent's absurd attacks for 1 energy. That's really, really nice. One thing to watch out for: do not play down Zoroark Break if you are relying on the type additions from Eeveelutions, because suddenly your Zoroark will not have that additional typing, and you'll be in for a rude awakening. This is one thing I actually have not done, so I'm very proud of myself for not making that mistake. However, let's be real, I might just do that when recording with this deck, so that will happen. 2 Enhanced Hammer, just kind of help with the mirror match or other Umbreon-GX decks, be able to just get rid of that DCE when we see it, and also has great synergy with Dark Hall to be able to just eliminate 3 energy from the field in one turn. Super, super powerful. And finally, instead of EXP share, we are running Wide Lens to be able to snipe things on the bench for super effective damage with Shadow Bullet. Things like Volcanion, Shaymin, all of those type of things get sniped if your Umbreon has a Wide Lens on it, has the Jolteon or Vaporeon adding those types to it. All of a sudden, Shaymin goes down in 2 Shadow Bullets, just sniping the bench. Volcanion can actually get set up to be knocked out in 3 bench snipes from Shadow Bullet. So that is really, really nice and really works out more often than you would think. But anyway, those are the 2 versions of this deck. Let's just go ahead and see these decks in action. Alrighty, we have found one against Shukaj with a, actually I wasn't even really paying attention. Looks like some normal, some dark, and some fire, something like that. I don't know. I'm spacing out, but either way, we do lose the coin flip, so we will go second. That's not the worst thing in the world, because we can always strafe turn 1. However, I will not be able to evolve my Eevees into the appropriate type should I need to, but yeah, let's start with an Eevee. I mean, we obviously have to, because otherwise we can't start with anything else. And, I mean, I have a pretty solid hand. I will be able to get a turn 1 evolution into an Umbreon, which is actually pretty solid. I mean, I'll have to discard, I think. I'll have to discard the Espeon and then maybe the DCE as well. My opponent's clearly playing an Eeveelutions deck as well. So it's going to be a mirror match, meaning that Umbreon is just going to be the one that will come through the most. What I am going to do, Ultra Ball, get rid of the N and the Espeon. I'm getting rid of the Espeon because I can immediately Super Rod that thing back. Alright, I have a Wobbuffet. I think what I'm going to do is... Well, I can't strafe turn 1 because I'm going... actually, yeah, I can. Yeah, I can. Let's go ahead and evolve into Eevee. Go straight into Umbreon. This way, I can keep my opponent from energy evolutioning next turn. Let's... and then I'm saving the Super Rod just because Espeon really won't be that big of a contributor in this matchup right now. I get a couple EXP shares. That's fine. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of 1 EXP share in the Flareon, I think, because Flareon really won't be doing much at all. Let's grab a Shaymin to try to draw a couple more cards. Let's see. Trainers Mail. See what we can get. Anything good. I get a Switch. That'll actually be handy for getting my Wobbuffet back off the bench next turn. Let's Shaymin, see if we can get a way of getting another Eevee out. We do not. So, yeah, I'm not going to switch yet. I'm going to strafe into Wobbuffet, shut down my opponent's potential Shaymins or Eevees or Energy Evolutions, all that stuff, and make it a little bit harder for my opponent to get the setup that they want. Okay, so I guess I just end my opponent into an Umbreon, so that works too. I mean, I guess there's no use shutting down Energy Evolution if you're just going to you're just going to draw into that anyway, and my opponent's got an Ultra Ball too. So really, going into Wobbuffet isn't going to do much. I mean, it's going to prevent my opponent from being able to Shaymin, which is always a positive thing, but... Wait, we see the Carvanha. What the heck? So, not sure what my opponent's running. We do see the Carvanha, which means Sharpedo's in the deck. So, maybe this is like a strafe into Sharpedo to take Rough Skin damage? Either way, I'm going to be able to get a knockout this turn, which is very, very nice. Let's DCE onto the Umbreon. Going to switch into the Umbreon. And you know what? Because I want to Sycamore this turn, even though I'm going to be getting rid of 2 Darkness Energy, I am just going to play the EXP share onto... I'm just going to play it onto the Shaymin. That way I have a way of retreating it later or Sky Returning if I want to. Get a Level Ball, so I'll be able to grab another Eevee, just play that sucker right down. And obviously this is the straight Eeveelutions version of this deck with Wobbuffet that my buddy Aura threw at me. And yeah, it's not the Zoroark version, because there's obviously no Zoroark line in this deck. But yeah, I'm just going to grab another Eevee, play that down. I have a Float Stone, and I mean, I'm not going to worry about it yet. I am going to go ahead and Shadow Bullet, hit the Umbreon on the bench for 30 damage, knock out the Shaymin, take 2 prizes, and yeah, in a very, very good position right now. I get another DCE, I will be able to play that onto another Umbreon. Well, I say Umbreon, I mean, I'll be able to play it onto an Eevee, which is going to become an Umbreon. And this will be interesting. If my opponent gets an energy attachment, he'll be able to Dark Call and wipe all the energy off my board, which will be a little bit annoying. My opponent luckily just has to Sycamore. And so I think the 30 damage is actually going to help out a ton on the Umbreon, because that means that 2 Shadow Bullets will be able to knock him out. And if my opponent Shadow Bullets this turn, I'm going to go straight for the Dark Call. And my opponent decided to go for Flareon. I disagree. I think you should get Jolteon if you can, because Flareon doesn't help this matchup at all. Like, it's not a... Like, the fire typing doesn't add anything. It doesn't allow you to hit for any particular weakness. My opponent does Parallel City, meaning that I am 1000% going to not want to evolve my Eevees into Vaporeons or Flareons, because then they will have the reduced damage, which I don't want. My opponent does make the smart play, goes for a Dark Call GX, gets rid of both energy on my Umbreon, and at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and evolve my Umbreon on the bench. Lysandre in... I need to buy a turn. So what I think I'm going to do, Lysandre in my opponent's Flareon, just, again, buy a turn, attach the DCE onto my Umbreon. What do I want to play the Float Stone onto? I think, let's Float Stone up Wobbuffet. And then Shaymin for 3 more cards, see if there's some combination of stuff I can get that would allow me to do well. And, okay, I get a Jolteon. That could help against the Shaymin, except my opponent's Shaymin is already down. I am just going to go ahead and put back 3 Darkness Energies. The Espeon is not going to be of any help this game. And then, yeah, I'm just going to end my turn right there. My opponent has to have an energy, and to get rid of an energy in order to retreat his Flareon. Basically, what I want to happen... Okay, so my opponent does commit the energy. What I wanted to happen was my opponent to attach and have to retreat. That way, there's still only 2 energy cards on the board for him. That way, my Dark Call can be most effective. This way, instead of having a 3rd energy on the board, my opponent only has 2 energy, and not being able to get an extra attachment this turn is really going to help out a ton. My opponent Hex Maniacs, that does really nothing, because I have the Sycamore in hand. My opponent is just going to Shadow Bullet, hit the Wobbuffet. That is fine with me. What I am going to do is Trainers Mail, see if I can get anything. Ooh, there we go. That's nice. Let's Ultra Ball, try to get another Umbreon out. Actually, I can even get an Espeon if I want, but I think the best play is to just grab Umbreon, have a 3rd Umbreon evolved on my bench. That way, Shadow Bullets just are doing minimal damage. Ultra Ball, try to draw into a water, or not a water energy, a Darkness Energy, which I do, and I'm going to go ahead and Dark Call, get rid of both of my opponent's energy on the Umbreon, set them back a couple turns, and this way I can Shadow Bullet into my opponent's Umbreon-GX twice to be able to take the knockout if he does not draw into a Darkness Energy to be able to strafe. But my opponent does get a Lily. Luckily, it's not a 1st turn Lily. It's like a turn 4 or whatever that we're on Lily, so it's not nearly as powerful. And if my opponent does not get a Darkness Energy, I will actually be able to hit it with a Shadow Bullet immediately, as opposed to having to take a strafe and being just a Lysandre away from a knockout. And we actually see the Reverse Valley come down. So that's interesting. I mean, my Steel types will be able to take hits better. All 0 Steel types that I run, and my opponent will be able to... Actually doesn't get an energy, so that is great for me. Because I have so much energy in my hand, I'm not going to Sycamore away. I want to keep my resources. I am just going to go ahead, Shadow Bullet the Umbreon and the Sharpedo, set the Sharpedo up to be knocked out by another Shadow Bullet later in the game. Really, I just want to try to make sure that I have all of the 1-shots and 2-shots that I need and don't have to worry about any 3-hit KOs or any junk like that. Just the key with Umbreon is spreading around damage to where you have the knockouts that you need, where you need them, and when you need them. Ooh, this is nice. Drawn to another Darkness Energy, meaning I can get another Shadow Bullet up, and that is always a positive thing to have multiple attackers going. Both of our GX attacks are used up, which is great for me. My opponent gets a DCE. Honestly, not sure why he decided to manually attach that onto the Umbreon, because it's just going to go down this turn unless he retreats it out. But right now, I do see that my opponent has a Shaymin on board, which means I am going to try to bring that thing out or damage it to get knocked out by a Shadow Bullet. My opponent is going to Super Rod energy back into the deck, and unless my opponent retreats, he's just going to lose Umbreon and an attachment this turn, which I really do not think was a particularly smart play. But I don't know. I'm sure they had a thought. Maybe they thought that they could like draw a Float Stone, get Umbreon out of there and then attach. But either way, I mean, Umbreon's just going to go down this turn. I'm going to play the Darkness Energy onto my Umbreon Ultra Ball, get rid of the Vaporeon and the Eevee. This isn't to grab anything. This is literally just to get rid of cards that I don't want to draw into should I get End again, and also get cards out of my deck. That way my top decks are better. I'm going to go ahead and knock out the Umbreon, get 30 damage on the Shaymin, put it in range of being knocked out by a Shadow Bullet later. I do grab the VS Seeker off my prizes. The Lysandre is right there to be able to win me the game next turn if I'm able to draw into... Well, if my opponent doesn't end me down to 2. But, I mean, I'm just in such a fantastic position. My opponent has not taken a prize yet. I have 2 Vaporeon Umbreon. I have 2 Umbreon completely set up, and my opponent does end me. That's the best play that they have. Hope that I don't draw into anything good, but I do draw into a Trainer's Mail. So that is going to be very nice, and if it gets me a Lysandre, I just win this game. My opponent is trying to power up another Pokemon on the bench. It looks like an Espeon. I really don't think that'll matter. Does retreat and goes for the Confuse Ray. That's the best play my opponent can go for. However, I can just manually retreat into my Umbreon that's on the bench. Or I can Olympia if I don't get a Lysandre, which would work as well. And I do get a Float Stone. So what I think I'm going to do for this turn is Olympia... Yeah, do I want to Olympia? I'm definitely going to Olympia into my Umbreon that's on the bench. I'm saving the Float Stone. That way, once my opponent confuses me next turn, I can just attach the Float Stone and retreat. And then I am going to Shadow Bullet. Just pile up damage on the Shaymin, because worst case scenario, my opponent keeps switching around. The Shaymin will eventually get knocked out by Shadow Bullets, by racking up of damage with the Shadow Bullets. And even if my opponent starts, like, Psychicking me, that doesn't matter. Because, I mean, yeah, it's going to hurt my Umbreon, and he will be able to take a 2-prize knockout eventually. But, I mean, at this point, I have 2 Umbreons powered up. I'm going to get 90 damage on the Shaymin. My opponent will have to... Actually, even after I Shadow Bullet the Espeon, like, the Espeon's going to be in range of a Shadow Bullet to the bench, too. So even if my opponent Sky Returns the Shaymin, gets rid of all the damage there, I have a knockout on an Espeon on the bench with one of my 2 Umbreons. So even if he knocks out an Umbreon, I have another Umbreon on the bench. He has 2 prize Pokemon that are in range of 30 damage from Shadow Bullet. And yeah, my opponent is just going to Psychic, knock out this Umbreon, but I will be able to take a 2-prize turn. Or not a 2-prize, I'll be able to take a 2 knockout, 4-prize turn right here and win the game. So, yep, just the damage from Shadow Bullet will win the game. There we go. Let's knock out the Espeon and the Shaymin. So we took a whopping 8 prizes this game. Oh, man, that was awesome. That was a very, very intense game. And had I had the Kukui earlier, that would have set the Umbreon to be the Espeon up to be knocked out by 2 Shadow Bullets as opposed to 3. But either way, able to come through in the end, take the win with Umbreon. And that was a very, very excellent match. Didn't get to show off what the Eeveelutions do, but I mean, still a very good match with just the straight Eeveelutions plus Wobbuffet deck. And at this point, I'm going to try to get a good match or 2 with the Zoroark version of this deck, which I think is really, really good as well. I'm not sure which one's better. I think both are really, really good, but either way, equally fun. I will be right back with another match with the Zoroark version of this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Dark Akuma 1 with a, looks like a Volcanion deck, based on the typings and whatnot. So Vaporeon will be the MVP 100% of this match. I will be able to start one-shotting Volcanion EXs that aren't belted with a Shadow Bullet. So very solid matchup for us if I can get set up. Umbreon and Espeon will be incredibly hard to knock out. And I start with a bunch of 2s of everything. So, 2 of my DCEs, both Zoroark, so, and we start with the Shaymin. That is lovely. That sucks, actually. But, either way, I mean, I have a switch. If I can somehow get an Eevee, then I'll be able to just Darkness into an Umbreon and switch out. Because starting with the Shaymin, very less than ideal. However, I do run enough Float Stones, I run Switch, I run Escape, or at least I think I do. I run Switch and Escape Rope. I mean, I run plenty of ways to get Shaymin out of the active. I just don't like starting with Shaymin because the only value you get out of Shaymin is when it is in your hand and you're able to play it and draw some cards. So the fact that you start with Shaymin just defeats the whole purpose of it. And my opponent is taking forever and a day to pick their starter. So this very well, oh, never mind, there we go. I was about to say this very well could just be a match where I sit here and my opponent times out, which has become disturbingly common lately, and, well, disturbingly and frustratingly common. My opponent starts Shaymin, so we both have very bad starts. My opponent does have to waste the manual attachment on the Shaymin, and it ends me. Thank you very much. I am completely okay with this. Put an Umbreon and a Darkness back into my deck. That way, if I draw an Eevee, I can Energy Evolution it, and booyah! So we get that. I don't get a supporter. So let's Wide Lens up, because this will be huge if I can get the Vaporeon and start Wide Lensing that. And start, like, Shadow Bulleting for super effective damage onto the bench. So that'll be gigantic for me. Get an Umbreon, I'll be able to switch. Let's see what I can get. Let's get a... Let's grab Ultra Ball. So I can grab another Shaymin to draw into a fresh hand of 6 cards. Get rid of the VS Seeker and the Lysandre to grab my other Shaymin. Thank the Lord it wasn't prized. Let's just switch right into the Umbreon so I can strafe for some damage. I don't think that I'll take the switch option of this. I might, but probably not. Let's just go ahead and Ultra Ball, get rid of the Float Stone, or get rid of the Umbreon, and I think just the other Ultra Ball to grab a... Let's grab an Eevee. Yeah, let's go ahead and grab an Eevee, play that down. I could have grabbed Zorua and played the Float Stone onto it, but I am just going to Sycamore away my hand, see if I can get anything better. I get stuff that's a lot better. I get another I get a Zorua, I get another Eevee. I can just strafe for some decent damage onto the Shaymin and then promote my other Shaymin to take a hit. Because honestly, I'd rather give up 2 prizes to a Volcanion early than let my Umbreon take a hit. Because Umbreon, I need all 120, not 120, I need all 200 of that HP to be able to do well in this matchup. Like, I need to not take a hit at all, because a double Steam Up Volcanic Heat will be able to knock me out if I have any prior damage. Even just 20 damage from a regular Power Heater will be enough to knock me out. So I want to make it as difficult on my opponent to knock out my attackers as possible, because even if I fall behind early, 2 prizes early, I mean, Umbreon and Vaporeon will be able to just bring me back so quickly and be able to take prizes. And also what I can do is even get Jolteon so that I knock out the Shaymin with a... I can snipe the Shaymin a lot easier with Shadow Bullet, with a Wide Lens Shadow Bullet. So that's going to be the goal that I'm going to go for. I mean, again, I will give my opponent 2 prizes at this point. I don't want my Umbreon to get damaged, and heck, even Zoroark can put in work, because my opponent is loading up their bench. So Zoroark's going to be able to hit for a ton of damage, and then if I can get the weakness out there as well, that's going to be even bigger. I get kind of a perfect hand, actually. Get a Jolteon, I get a Zoroark, I get a DCE, I get 2 Trainers Mails, which can hopefully turn into at least 1 supporter, and evidently my opponent had nothing. So, yep, that was that match, and I'm going to go ahead and try to find another one. I mean, this was way too short, but yeah, let's find another one with this deck. Alrighty, we have found another one against Edwin Lamb with a fire deck. So, yeah, once again, Vaporeon is going to come through huge. I really wish I would have been able to get a Vaporeon and a Jolteon, or that my opponent would have played out the last match, because then I would have been able to start sniping Volcanion for 60 damage on the bench, while also just, I mean, absolutely destroying them with, well, yeah, that's what I meant. Destroying them with the 90 from Shadow Bullet, that's going to turn into 100. Well, that would turn into 180 to one-shot non-belted Volcanions, and then the 60 damage that I'd be able to hit the bench to set Volcanions up to be 3-hit knocked out with spread damage. And I could even get a Jolteon as well to be able to two-shot the Shaymin. And in this match, we are very, very clearly up against a Typhlosion deck. I start with a very nice hand, and my hand is just going to get nicer because my opponent is mulliganing like crazy. Hopefully they end up starting with the Cyndaquil. That would be awesome if they did, because that would mean that they really couldn't do anything. If they started with the Cyndaquil, then they obviously wouldn't have the Talonflame, and the Talonflame is absolutely huge for these Stage 2 decks to be able to set up quickly and be able to do what they're doing. Because once Typhlosion sets up and you're actually able to keep Typhlosions going, that deck is scary. Like, it is scary powerful. Just being able to, if you hit 3 of the 5 cards as energy, then you just knock out something, like you delete something. 240. That's way too much. And yeah, I'm just going to draw through about half my deck with my mulligan cards. And honestly, like, this setup will just be immaculate. Like, I'll be able to, yeah, I even get a Darkness Energy. I can evolve. I'm just Level Ball first to grab another Eevee, see what's there, and my Vaporeon's prized. Of course, my Vaporeon is prized in a matchup against a fire deck, so what I am going to do is evolve into my Umbreon. I'm probably going to try to get another Eevee set up with an Ultra Ball. Let's discard the Enhanced Hammer, that won't be doing anything, and the Zoroark Break, because that won't be doing anything as well. Let's grab a 4th Eevee to set up, and then, yeah, what I think I'm going to do, well, first Trainers Mail, obviously, see what I can get. I get nothing useful. Let's Shaymin for 3, just see if we can get anything better, and if so, we will go with it. If not, I'm just going to Sycamore. I have another Zoroark in the deck. I'm fine. I don't need to worry about Zorua. And I draw into some very, very, very nice stuff. So what I can do next turn is evolve into Umbreon, attack into, well, Escape Rope into probably Zorua, because that would be what I'd want to play the Float Stone onto, and then Sycamore away my hand, try to draw into a Float Stone to be able to retreat back into the Umbreon, and then knock out a Cyndaquil if my opponent's able to get it on the bench, because Talonflame in itself will not be doing damage. Well, I mean, it'll be doing 40 damage, but Talonflame in itself can't beat me. If I just knock out every single one of my opponent's Cyndaquils as soon as he plays it down, I'm going to absolutely destroy him. Like, there will be nothing he can do. Talonflame will 5-shot my Umbreon, and at that point, I'll just, even Shadow Bullet damage racking up on the bench will be too much, I think. So, actually no, the math would work out to where he would have 10 HP left when he knocked me out with another Arrow Blitz. But I mean, by then, I would have knocked out all his Cyndaquil, so he'd need to try to find a way to recycle them, and if he couldn't, I would just win. But my opponent goes ahead and recycles 2 cards back into the deck, is able to Arrow Blitz, grab whatever 2 cards out of the deck he wants, probably a Rare Candy Typhlosion. However, what I'm going to do, I even have an N. So let's go ahead and play the DCE onto the Umbreon, play another Umbreon down. Let's Ultra Ball, get rid of the Sycamore and the Darkness Energy to grab a Jolteon, maybe? Yeah, let's go ahead and grab the Jolteon. Actually, I don't even need the Float Stone, because Jolteon has free retreat. What I can do is Escape Rope into my Jolteon, and then I'll be able to retreat right back out. Let's go ahead and Sycamore, because my opponent probably, like I said, grabbed Rare Candy Typhlosion or some combination of that, to where I don't need to worry about it. I even get a Wide Lens, so that'll be even nicer. Let's play the Float Stone onto the Zorua, the Wide Lens onto my Umbreon, And now that it is a lightning type thanks to Jolteon, Shadow Bullet will be hitting the Talonflame for weakness and hitting it for 60 damage, and I'm going to draw a card. I even get a Vaporeon, so yeah, I probably made whatever my opponent grabbed off that Aeroblitz completely useless, or at least half useless. Because odds are he probably grabbed it a way to get another Cyndaquil. But, yeah, there's the other Cyndaquil, so he probably just grabbed that. And, yeah, we just see another Aeroblitz. So, because of that awesome top deck off of the prizes, I'm going to be able to win this turn. Because I will be able to hit that Cyndaquil for weakness as well. And this is going to be awesome because my Umbreon is going to be Lightning, Dark, and Water types. And because of the Wide Lens, I'm going to be able to hit the bench Cyndaquil for super effective damage. And boom, we just win right there. Shadow Bullet, super effective damage onto the Talonflame, super effective damage onto the bench Cyndaquil. That is literally exactly what this deck is built to do. It's built to add a bunch of types onto Umbreon, be able to snipe the bench and even hit for weakness with Wide Lens, and just have Zoroark as rush treat and also a backup attacker. So that was a perfect example of how this version of the deck is supposed to work. But try out both versions. Let me know what you guys think and which version you guys think is better. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that stuff. And this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.